Yo, what is up, guys? This is, of course, your boy Bernie here, along with Pete and Brad.
Dude, guys.
And today we're going to talk about kind of a little bit of a fun topic, and that is, of course, media personalities. You know, there's always the Stephen A. Smiths of the world, those type of guys, the Skip Baylesses, what we call the clowns, right? These are the guys that talk such a big game, think that they're all that, but really they've never stepped foot on a court or on a field ever in their life. Maybe in high school or even college, but at the end of the day, how much they talk and how much they say, it doesn't equate to what I think garners from these other guys that you're seeing on our screen here, and that is the NBA players who turned into media personalities. So guys, excuse me, like what they show in the picture here: Charles Barkley, JJ Redick, Matt Barnes, Draymond Green. Even though I think Draymond Green, I agree to an extent, he is a media personality. I really like to focus on the guys that are retired because I feel like they have the most stories to talk about, just because their playing career is done and they can kind of reflect back on it. Maybe I'm the solely on that train here between us three, but we have got to talk about this list that Hoopside put together, and who they think is the number one all the way to 15 media NBA players turned media personalities. So why don't we do this? Let's go through the list and see if we agree where they're at on the list, or do we think they should be off it, higher, lower? So let's kind of start there.
One thing to keep in mind, this is a fan-voted list.
Yes,
by the way.
Fan-voted list. Yes, you guys can see there on the chart. So let's start off at number 15. We got Steven Jackson. 15. What do you guys think about Steven Jackson? Again, if you guys don't know who he is on All the Smoke podcast. I think he does it with Matt Barnes. Great podcast if you guys are ever interested in listening to that.
I'm not mad at it. I'd maybe put Bill Walton 15th and Steven Jackson 14, just because Steven Jackson's at least funny. So
yeah.
I can't say I'm a big fan of All the Smoke, but I would definitely put Steven Jackson ahead of Bill Walton. That's not even a question.
Yeah, I think I think they have some moments, but I think I agree with you guys. It's not something that I particularly listen to. But I do agree with you. Like Bill Walton, I think that he's had some moments here and there, but it's still, I feel like it's cringe. It's some cringe moments from him. He primarily does all like the college stuff anyway. He's not like I think the last time he's done NBA was like years ago. But
even his college commentating is so wild. I remember watching a Gonzaga game years ago, and he was like, he wasn't even talking about the game, man. He was talking about just taking a trip in the forest or something. Yeah.
Take an edible, something to that nature, man.
He's like 3 gummies in by the time he's commentating any game.
Respect to him, though, living life.
Yeah.
I would cut Bill Walton off the list completely, and I don't even know if he's on a podcast formally, but just put Shumpert on the list. Put Shumpert on the list.
Yeah, Shumpert should be on the list for sure.
Yeah.
The best storytellers in NBA history.
Yeah, definitely should have him on there. Let's move on to number 13, Kevin Garnett. I believe he's on the show with Paul Pierce called Ticket and the Truth. Again, not a podcast I listen to. I probably should as a Celtics stan, but I don't. What do you guys make of Kevin Garnett on this list?
I mean, I'm not gonna fight it. I don't listen to that. I think KG and Paul Pierce are cool, and I've seen like some clips, some snippets. They're funny, but
that clip of the guy throwing the lighter at Paul Pierce's head will never not be funny.
Yo, that was hilarious. That was hilarious.
Kevin Garnett had to literally, he's like, you know what? He's like Paul Pierce, please. He's like, Paul, please don't go beat that guy up. That's just like a stage hand. Leave that guy alone. He hit him right
Paul,
in the face with it.
We're live. We're on TV. Oh my god.
Dude, Paul Pierce is so funny. He might be one of the most unintentionally funny people in all of NBA history. He's got to be up on the list. He is funny legitimately too, but he is unintentionally very funny.
Yeah.
Kevin Garnett makes it high on this list too, because I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler, he gets, just move him up the list just because of that.
I haven't seen that. I gotta see that.
One of the best acting performances by an NBA player.
I've seen the clip of why would you tell me something if I couldn't have it? I like that. That's a funny meme.
Good stuff. That's a great movie.
Yeah. Number 12, we got Steve Smith. he's more of like I would say more of a serious commentator. He's not cracking as many jokes, but I believe this is a former Atlanta Hawks, Steve Smith, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So at 12, I think he does a pretty good job. I don't mind him on like NBA broadcasts when it's NBA TV's time to have those games. Super solid. I don't think there's anything wrong with him being included on this list.
Yeah, I was gonna say the exact same words as you. Pretty much, he's super solid. Whenever I turn on NBA TV and hear him, I like him.
Yeah, it's perfectly right down the middle. Solid.
Yeah, better than ESPN's trio team that they're probably gonna have us listen to in the NBA Finals. I am not looking forward to that.
Doris, Doc, and
Mike. That's a game I listen to on mute.
That one's rough. Dude, I gotta say it. Doris Burke is one of the most overrated media personalities ever in the history of media.
Yeah.
She's Drake made Doris Burke.
Drake made Doris Burke.
Yeah,
that might be true.
That. I think she's much more popular because of Drake, to be honest.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
She got elevated by Drake.
Number 11, we got Tim Legler. Tim Legler, if you guys don't know, ESPN commentator, veteran. I believe he's been there for like 10 years. I think that's what it says on here.
He's been there for.
Before other people got there, I thought he was probably one of the better NBA analysts on ESPN. Super underrated. I feel like, honestly, I would probably have him a little bit higher, just because I think his X's and O's and the way that he talks game is amazing. And I just think ESPN needs to utilize that more. It looks like they're going to. Looks like they are, with the way that they have little segments for him. But man, it's definitely refreshing to see him talk about basketball than some of these other former ESPN guys that they've had, and really, honestly, Stephen A. Smith, who, man, it's rough.
Tim Legler's up there. Honestly, he's one of the better actual analysts of all these guys. He's actually been doing it for 23 years now. He's doubled up his NBA playing career in
That's insane.
just being an analyst, which is actually absurd.
I wouldn't be mad at moving him up. I see they have Reggie Miller at 8. I wouldn't be mad at him taking that spot, honestly, just because he actually talks basketball and gives you the ins and outs of the game, and I appreciate that. It's much better than the Stephen A. Smith we get.
He's always been one of the best too in terms of being able to talk not just the pro league, but college too. He actually is really knowledgeable about all parts of the game.
Yeah, which is what I would like more from ESPN and Fox Sports.
Very rare from ESPN.
Number 10, we got Draymond Green. Obviously has his own podcast. Is on TNT as a commentator when he's injured or when he's out of the playoffs. What do you guys make of Draymond Green? I actually really think he's good.
Yeah, I like Draymond.
I think he's got the voice for it. He's got the ability to do it. I just think in terms of actually having things to say that I want to listen to, it's bottom tier. It's terrible. There's just nobody that blows smoke up their own ass more than this dude does. There's nobody. He's kind of like, if we're going to equate any of these guys to a Stephen A. Smith, in some sense, he's like the playing equivalent. This dude, he loves himself. And man,
I don't know. That's a little disrespectful, P. I don't know, P. That's a little just Stephen A. Smith, bro. Draymond at least plays. He can give you the on-court visuals and he breaks down defenses. I don't know, man. Stephen A.
Got the on-court. He's got the knowledge of the actual game. I was just trying to throw some heat towards him. All right. That being said, dude, I honestly do think he doesn't really have I just ultimately think he will never tell you the truth if it doesn't benefit himself, right? He is one of those guys that is constantly and I think one of the things that's shown me this the most recently is his constant, incessant talk about the Jordan Poole situation from last season. It's dude, shut up about it. We get it. You're just, honestly, maybe this is me just being soft a little bit. I think he's just genuinely being mean to the guy now. Just let it go. You punched him in the face. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
In
That's
the
him.
Jordan Poole regard, I agree with you. I feel like that's just
Yeah.
a messed up situation. But overall, I mean, like when he was, I think it was he was doing the Memphis Grizzlies reaction to the playoff series last year or something like that. He knows, he's pretty honest, like that's his thing, is he's really honest. Like he'll like say, yeah, I gotta be better, I gotta do this, and then he'll go out and do it, and then he'll next podcast and be like, yeah, I did it, so yeah, I appreciate the realness from him. Like he's not.
I would trade Draymond for Pat Bev. Just move Draymond off this list and put Pat Bev right there.
Pat Bev should be on the list,
That's
but Draymond
spicy.
should also be on the list.
That
is super spicy.
That is spicy,
sorry.
man.
Gotta tell my truth. I'm gonna be honest, like Draymond. Get him out of here. I'd rather hear Pat Bev, to be honest with you. We're gonna say Draymond is very truthful. Pat Bev is, I think he's taking.
He's
Draymond
also truthful,
for the cleaners on
unless he's talking about Chris Paul, then he's a liar and a half. So
that's
he also has.
That's the only thing he's not honest about is Chris Paul. I'm taking Pat Bev any day. It's not even close with him and Draymond.
Damn. Okay. Let's go on to number 9, Matt Barnes. Again, co-host of All the Smoke. I think this is
my personal favorite. I love Matt Barnes, bro.
You like Matt Barnes?
Matt Barnes is your personal favorite?
I love Matt Barnes, bro. I mean, you guys don't watch All the Smoke. I watch All the Smoke, and it's one of my favorite podcasts. Like the way he's able to interview people and get like realness out of them, get into like deep conversations, the way they reminisce about the past, and like it's cool, And he's a great interviewer. Like he carries All the Smoke, to be honest with you. Steven Jackson just makes like some quips here and there and but Matt Barnes like knows the game, knows the guys. He's good, man. He can orchestrate a lot. He's a very intelligent dude.
I'll give you that. He definitely is one of the better interviewers of all these guys, for sure. He's like a pretty high level interviewer, actually. Like there's a lot of great clips that have come from All the Smoke just because of his actual like good questions he's presenting these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with Matt Barnes being there. I think he's a lot better than some of the other guys that I'm not sure if they're on this list. I haven't really like done a deep dive, but definitely better than Reggie Miller, definitely better than Gilbert Arenas, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Gilbert Arenas. If there was a reverse of this list, he should be at the top.
Yeah.
Number 8, Reggie Miller.
He should be off the list, man.
Obviously,
get him out of here.
More of a color commentator, colored analyst, as it says here on Hoops Hype. Yeah, he's about average, maybe a little bit below average. I definitely think that he should be like way up on the list. Like if you're gonna put him on there, put him at 14, 15, 16, and we'll call it a day with Reggie Miller.
Yeah, give him Bill Walton's spot and just cut Bill.
Damn, sorry, Bill, you're cut. You're cut from the roster.
Yeah, dude, I don't like Reggie Miller's not even really high on my list of like guys I like as commentators. He's pretty boring.
Yeah, does not move me at all.
I'd rather listen to like one of the Van Gundys over Reggie as a commentator on a game. That's saying something because I'm not super high on the old Van Gundys.
No, not the Gundys, man.
I don't know if I'd say that. It's like choosing between hell and.
What about Doc? What about Doc?
Oh, Doc is like -5 on my list.
No, Doc isn't that bad. He just has a bad crew.
Doc is pretty bad, man.
I don't like listening to Doc. He's just kind of on there to toot his own horn. I feel like he's constantly trying to correct Mike or Doris.
He's what you said about Draymond Green. He's the same type of guy.
Yeah. He blows a lot of smoke up his ass. Yeah.
I'm a little biased about Doc just because I don't know if you guys remember when he was a commentator way back in the day.
Yeah.
Right? Like 20 years ago. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That was like when I remember, like that was me gaining sentience as a human being. That was like my earliest days of making memories. I kind of remember him as a commentator like fondly, and just because he was pretty good back when I was a kid, at least, just in my memory, at least. That was I was learning to actually understand the world through Doc Rivers.
That's hilarious. Doc Rivers early memories of Doc Rivers commentary. That is hilarious.
Wasn't Sesame Street. Wasn't Blue's Clues. It was Doc Rivers commentary.
It was Doc. You're damn right, dude. It was Doc Rivers commentary Doc Rivers commentary with what was the guy with it was Craig, what's his name? The guy with this Craig Seager? Is that his name? The guy that
Yeah,
wore the
Sager. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. That's my earliest basketball memories. Doc and that guy's suits.
All right. Now on to number 7, we got Jamal Crawford. What do we make?
I think this is a personal fan favorite player he's getting extra votes here.
Yeah. I don't know how he got the 7.
He's not bad, but this is dramatically overstating how good he is.
Yeah.
You know? Not like
he just broke into the game. Like,
yeah. This is some bias. This is some playing bias.
I wouldn't even have him on the list, to be honest. We need Pat Bev and Shump in here.
Yep, I totally agree. I'd probably keep Bill Walton on the list over Jamal Crawford. Just because I think of him more as a media member than I think of Jamal Crawford. I don't.
Yeah.
Jamal Crawford,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Would you take Dwayne Wade or Jamal Crawford?
Dwayne Wade.
Yeah, I'd probably take Dwayne Wade too, which I don't think he's particularly super great.
I think the thing that goes against Jamal too is that not only is he, doing this, he's new to the commentating role. I also don't, I think he's like in way too many projects to like be consistently on TV. Like, he's, obviously he's really big in the Seattle area. I think his son is going to start high school or is near starting high school. This is just, into the Seattle culture here. Like he's about to start high school. And, I think the coach and, I don't think that this is necessarily going to happen. But, Bethea that's been there forever at Rainier Beach, I think he's probably going to retire relatively soon. And I could see Jamal Crawford taking his spot as like as the next head coach, just because I think Bethea is probably looking to retire soon. That's why.
That'd be cool.
So I think that's where I think Jamal Crawford's heading towards, because I think he does want to coach his son. I think he wants his son to go to the NBA or like college or whatever route he decides to go to get to the NBA.
I've seen one of his kids. One of them is disgustingly good. It's like him and Will Conroy's kid. They made that video of them went viral. Yeah. But I think he's in is he going into high school? I thought he was like 7th grade or something, or 6th grade.
Well, that's what I meant.
Maybe
like he's gonna be close to getting into high school is what I meant to say, because I think Bethea is still coaching. If you guys don't know, Bethea, huge legend out here.
Legend, yeah.
Won a couple of those 3A state titles here in the Seattle state. So yeah, I think that he's a guy that I think he's getting to that point where he's like getting ready to retire because he's been in the game for so long. So that's why like I said, I think a lot of people are thinking that Jamal Crawford's going to take his coaching job when he hangs it up. So
that'd be beautiful, man. Who better to learn from than Jamal Crawford for those kids who literally played there and then went to the league? I love that.
Definitely giving back to the community, which I love to see.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Let's see here. Number 6, we got Jalen Rose.
One of my personal favorites.
Jalen Rose. I know you quote. This is probably the one commentator I think you quote the most.
I do. There's one of my a quote that I genuinely live by. I learned from Jalen Rose. Happiness is a function of realistic expectations. I think of that quote all the time. That's genuinely helped me a lot in my life. That being said, I actually think Jalen Rose is just legitimately one of the best media personalities to come out of the NBA. Probably a better media personality than he was an NBA player, which he was pretty good in the NBA too. But yeah, I love Jalen Rose. I would say my biggest problem, and the reason I can't put him number 1, sometimes he definitely took himself a little too seriously. That's kind of a little bit, but realistically, like he's just just seemed like a good dude, just very versatile, but not somebody you would necessarily need to spend like way too much time with on like a broadcast either. He had a really good role in the if the show itself wasn't so terrible, the NBA Countdown show. Like that show is a nightmare, but he was always like the best part of it, in my opinion, when he worked on it.
Yeah, I agree.
That show really sucks though. So there's just so much going on NBA Countdown that I just can't really I can't necessarily get down with NBA Countdown, but yeah, he's solid. What do you guys think about Jalen Rose? I feel like he's kind of like he's probably a little meh for most people. I think he might be kind of a Reggie Miller type vibe for a lot of people, but I just think he seems like a good dude.
He was pretty solid. I didn't like Jalen and Jacoby too much, but I watched it here and there. But on like
Yeah.
ESPN and like NBA Countdown, he was definitely carrying that. He would give good
Mhm.
analysis and he was funny. He made amazing jokes. Like I like Jalen Rose. He was funny.
Yeah. All time, one of the greatest moments ever in ESPN history, too, when he absolutely just pissed on Skip Bayless's grave that one time.
Yeah,
That
that
was,
was that was so. Oh
he basically gets a lifetime pass as a media member
Lifetime.
just for that.
Yeah, it sucks that he was part of the layoffs for ESPN. It would be interesting to see if he does sports
He'll be on
media
a
again or if he
podcast.
just kind of
He'll be on a
chills.
podcast before you know it.
Yeah,
I would bet money he has a podcast with like Bill Simmons by the end of this year.
I
Something
could,
like that.
I
That's
could,
what he used to do at ESPN back in the day. That's like how he got his start, really. In
yeah,
media, at least.
yeah, for sure. Let's see here. We got 5. We got Richard Jefferson. Kind of, a guy that's recently come into the scene in 2019. Just a little background information about him. Had a long career. New Jersey Net actually is one of their commentators for the games that he's not doing stuff for ESPN. And obviously NBA champion with the Cavaliers back in 16. What do you guys make of Jefferson as number 5 on the list?
Yeah, he's another one of my personal favorites. He does a great job commentating for the Nets too. Like anytime I tune into
Yeah.
those, he's hilarious. He knows the game. He's
Yep.
personable with the players. Like some analysts are weird. Like when it comes to commentating on players and like
Yeah.
slumps or something like that. Richard does a good job of like breaking it down and still being respectful, but also being real. Richard is really really good, and his podcast Road Tripping with Channing Frye is funny. I like that.
Yeah, he's pretty high on my list too. I actually kind of I think I prefer him over JJ, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
They're both close, but I just think I like Richard Jefferson a bit more. I think he's better than commentator for sure. It's like actually like over games live, he's better than JJ is right now for sure.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. I think Richard Jefferson is probably one of the best things on ESPN right now. And I think he does carry some of those shows, like especially the Countdown. I think he's one of the guys that is a starting player. The guy you build around is Richard Jefferson. If I'm ESPN on NBA Countdown, but that's just me. Let's see here. He also became a ref too, man. Like you gotta love this guy. Like
That was an A+ moment. Summer League Richard
Mhm.
Jefferson reffing was
Yeah.
A+ moment.
Yeah, and he puts his hat, like you guys said, like in different spots. He's not just like I'm a color commentator. I have to be serious. Like he does a lot of different things. Like you say, Brad, he's like very personable to the players. Has a great personality. I mean, it works out very well. And ESPN should be lucky and counting their blessings that they have him on that roster. Because Lord knows some idiot on Disney or ESPN is going to be like, we need to save some money, and I could see it. I could see it just because of those idiots, that are corporate headquarters. But luckily, they didn't do that. Number 4.
Knicks fan, I will say, as a Knicks fan too, before we leave Richard Jefferson, I will say I love how much he trolls Knicks fans. It's it's A+ material.
That's hilarious.
Too many Knicks fans really just don't get that he's completely trolling them, and they really take it personally. It's pretty awesome. He leans into it.
Number 4, we can kind of combine I think the top, 4 through 3, just because they both are all in the same show. Kenny the Jet Smith, Shaquille O'Neal, and Charles Barkley, 2 through 4. Obviously they're on the TNT. They have their own show inside the NBA. What do you guys make of the 3 of them? And do you guys agree that all 3 of them should be up here? Do you think that one of them should be higher or lower than the other? What's your opinion on our 3 here?
I mean, they're about all the same to me, just because, they work in a tandem. I can't be mad at this ranking for them because they've been doing it for so long and they're so good together. Is the thing. When you replace one of them, it's a little weird when you replace Shaq with, I don't know, that some random person who's been in another studio. You lose some of that magic, but when they're together, it's amazing.
I will say I think it's slightly offensive to have anybody over the 3 of these guys. I think JJ, spoiler, can we just spoil it? JJ's at number 1. JJ Redick is number 1.
That's ridiculous. I don't know how that happened.
It's absurd. These 3 guys are the reason this is such a move right now. I think, like in a lot of ways, like they really have set the tone for like what you can do with your career after you're done, and even be more likable than you were like in your career. Like to me, these guys are the three easily the best media personalities in the NBA. Chuck is my all-time favorite media member, former professional athlete turned media member, and Shaq is right behind him too. So, I mean, what can we even say for these guys that people don't know? They have the best show, as far as I'm concerned, in all of basketball. Podcast, live TV, inside the NBA is the best basketball shows for my money, I would say. Plus, they have Ernie too, which Ernie is one of the best media members there is. So,
Yeah, I mean, oh, we're gonna say, Brad.
I was just gonna ask you what you think about him, Bird.
I think that all three of these guys are really good. I think the thing that, like you said, Brad, I think all three of these guys need to be on together for it to really work. And I think that's just I'm trying to think of the right word, but it's basically the double-edged sword with the show being so successful is that, if one of them is missing, or if, like you said, if like a sub comes on for one of them, I just feel like it's thrown off, like, because they vibe so well together. It's kind of like when you have the perfect team and you have like, your three best friends are like in, doing a podcast together like we are here. And it's like if we got someone to like replace me or Pete or you, Brad, that is just like coming in here, and then it's just like the vibe is off. And so it's definitely good to see that that all three of these guys are up here. I think that, like you said, Pete, I think Charles is probably the higher of both of them. And I do agree with you guys with JJ Redick. I think JJ Redick is too high. Like, he just got into the scene. Like, I don't think that he is a guy. And I guess 16 he started, so I guess it's not too high. But like, he started at ESPN a couple years ago. I think he's super solid. Like, I love his interviews. I think his interviews are really good. But I do agree with you guys that he is just a little bit too high, because I think, just kind of like his playing career. Like, some people love him, some people hate him. And I think he's still polarizing to this day. Like, even not playing in Duke, not playing in the NBA, having that, what some would like to call a punchable face. I think that, having him at number one is a little crazy, but
yeah,
he's super solid at his job. So I think that's the reason why fans like him. And yeah, that's that
he is
list.
he's extremely solid. Though I will say the reason, there's just no way he should be ahead of Chuck and Shaq. Like ahead of like Kenny, maybe, but even then I think it's offensive. At number one, he can't be number one for that Ben Simmons interview alone. Like, that alone should disqualify.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Ben Simmons interview is an abomination of journalism. It should be wiped from
Can you give some context, Pete, for people that maybe have not watched that one?
So that was, I believe was he still on the 76ers, or he had just gotten traded, I believe, to the Nets at the time?
I think he was still on the Sixers, waiting to be moved. On the
Sixers. I agree. Like right before he got moved. So JJ, it was like the first time Ben Simmons had really talked after he had passed up the open dunk under the hoop in that Atlanta Hawks playoff series. And he very much so did not push back on anything Ben Simmons had to say. Which, mind you, I get it. Like, these guys are players, they're peers. Like, he didn't want to lead Ben Simmons into like a trap interview where he's gonna just shit on him the whole time. But that being said, it was really tough to listen to, because he really just let Ben Simmons gas himself up for an hour and 15 minutes and basically just deflect all blame and responsibility for himself, which I've never been able to forget that interview. I don't know. It sounds like, Brad, you're on the same page. Bernie, you're with me. Like, that interview was really, really questionable. That's one of those moments where I just see like, oh, you just are, you're just here to let these guys have a platform to talk, and just give it to them. Which,
stroke their ego.
That might be fine for some people, but to me, I don't want to listen to that. I go watch Ben Simmons' Fortnite stream if I wanted to hear that nonsense. I don't. So yeah, that was questionable though.
That was very questionable. But Let us know in the comment section, what do you guys think of this list? Do you guys agree or disagree with it? What is your personal preference for NBA media personalities, NBA players turned media personalities? We'd love to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for The Charge. Thank you once again for tuning in, giving you the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. Thank you, Brad and Pete, for hopping on and
wait.
Oh, do you got one more thing?
I got one more thing. Sorry, Bern. I have undrafted free agents who didn't make this list. I got Pat Bev.
Yes.
People got to
Pat
check
Bev.
out his podcast. Yeah, it's a great podcast. Paul George's podcast has been pretty good. All the things I can say about him as a player, his podcast is pretty entertaining. I won't lie.
If I brought up the Ben Simmons interview with JJ, I have to bring up the cat interview with Paul George. That one's terrible too.
That one is terrible. Yes, that one
really bad. That makes him borderline not on the list for me. But continue. I like your suggestion.
Kendrick Perkins, just because people they can say whatever they want about him, but he's hilarious. He's good TV, and you need that. Not everything has to be X's and O's. You need entertaining people. Yeah. Iman Shumpert, amazing storyteller.
Yep.
Darius Miles and Quentin Richardson for Knuckleheads. I love their podcast. They bring back a bunch of players that I grew up watching as a kid. Yeah, I love that. They had Hito Turkoglu on there the other day. It's amazing.
That's a great episode of a podcast. That is good stuff.
Yeah.
That's the second time they've had Hito on, though, right? Because the first one I feel like was pretty legendary, too.
It is, yeah. And that makes sense because him and Q Rich played together, right? So they're probably pretty close. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I got. I like those people for a shout out. I think they could have replaced some of the people on the list. Like Steven Jackson, you really don't have to make the list, my guy. I'm sorry.
He could definitely lose his way off that list pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Let me throw a couple out there. I'm gonna throw one. I'm gonna throw a speculative. This is like my projections for like a rookie class. You ready? I got one. This one is gonna really bend some minds out there. But I've heard him a few times on some podcasts. He's honestly pretty good. Austin Rivers is legitimately pretty solid.
I like that one. Yeah.
I've heard him a few times. He honestly he's very honest about himself. He doesn't take himself too seriously, but he also clearly really loves the game. He's on the list.
Mm-hmm.
This one, I honestly would put him on the list for sure to me. Raja Bell. I don't know if you guys have listened to Raja Bell's podcast at all. One of my favorite media personalities as far as ex-players. Keeps it very real. I think his podcast is literally called Real Ones or something like that. But it's good stuff. I don't know if you guys have ever listened to it, but he's one of the sneakier. He's actually really solid. Knows what he's talking about.
I've listened to a couple of it. Yeah, he's solid for sure. He's
experienced both as a player and he worked in some front office stuff too with the Cavs. Yeah. So he's got a lot of insight on both sides of the game.
Yep, for sure. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for The Charge. Thank you once again for tuning in. Like we were saying, giving you the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. Let us know in the comment section down below. What do you guys make, like I said, of the top 15 NBA media personalities? Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? Or are you with Brad and Pete and that there's some undrafted free agents that they've talked about that you like more than these other guys? We'd love to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it here. Thank you once again for tuning in. Give me the latest NBA news and rumors and basketball opinions. And we'll catch everybody on the next episode of The Charge. Peace out, everybody.